Delusional.
Hi, and welcome to the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club. My name is Courtney, and I'll be your host. And today I'm joined by my best friend in the whole world and a romance novel expert, our co-host, Phoebe. Phoebe, welcome.
Hi, thanks.
This is going to be so fun. Phoebe's going to join us for all the romance novels, and she helped me curate this list and pick the author in the series that we're going to be going through. I have known Phoebe, who I call Princess, so don't be confused. I've known her for 16 years. Do you remember how we met?
Yep. Courtney was eating a lollipop. She offered it to me, and I said, okay. And that's how we became best friends.
We swapped spit the very first time we met, so it's...
Did I offer you the lollipop?
No, I offered you the lollipop.
Okay, that's
I'm
good.
not positive.
Me too.
But yeah, swap spit the first time we ever met each other, which is pretty in line with us.
We're friends ever since.
As close as it gets. We came up with the idea for the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club a year ago, like almost to the day, sitting out on my couch out there, because Phoebe has a history of recommending me books to read, and then I read them, and then we gossip about them. So I'll basically do whatever she tells me to do. That goes all the way back to when we first met each other. Do you remember in middle school, the first series that you had me read with you?
I mean, it had to be Pretty Little.
It was Pretty Little.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. It was Pretty Little.
We were obsessed.
We were obsessed. The whole country was obsessed. It was a phenomenon. It was a feminine-omenon before a feminine-omenon was
a lot of pedophilia.
Yeah. Honest to God, people think that
so many adults sleeping with those high
schoolers. And also,
it's wild.
It was probably one of my first gay fictions because Hannah. Emily
was gay.
Yeah. And
I loved.
I felt like so many feelings because she goes off to live with like some family members of hers, like in the country, and she meets a gay girl.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I'm like having flashbacks now. They like met down by a river, and like of all the relationships, I don't remember anybody else, but like I remember that one, and it probably should have been a sign. But here we are in the country, and that surely didn't take. So I have to get all my queer enjoyment from the fiction that we read. Do you remember the series that we read in high school together?
No, but I could guess.
Guess. You made me read it.
It's a series. Is it Hunger Games?
It's Hunger Games.
And that's what I was going to say.
Phoebe, Princess has, you can't see it super well, but she has a Mockingjay tattoo. She was obsessed with the Hunger Games in high school.
Still am.
I think
Sunrise on the Reaping. Can't wait.
I think I was a Gale girl. Almost through and through until the last book when all shit hits the fan. And you can't forgive Gale. Like, you never forgive Gale.
You just didn't like Peeta because he was short.
He was short. And
short king.
I don't know. In the story, was he short? Like in the book? He wasn't as tall as Gale, that's for sure.
Yeah, no. I don't know if I think they were like the same height. And Katniss is not short, but like, actually, I think she's tiny in the book. And they are not that far apart in height. So I guess maybe he's a short king.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, anyways. So Gale, Peeta, those were probably the first delusional boyfriends that I had that really...
Yeah, because in Hunter Myers, it was delusional girlfriends.
Oh yeah, I had that.
100%, yeah.
And I was kind of obsessed with all of them. Like Spencer was the girl that I wanted to be. Remember, she wouldn't go without her nail polish chipping. I had a huge girl crush on her.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm remembering their names because it's been so long.
My sister's rewatching the show right now, which I didn't watch because... it was so bad compared to the books, which were also bad, but I was so obsessed with the books and they were like such a big, important piece of my reading journey. That I was like offended. I read all 16. The last book came out when we were in college and I read it.
I forgot that. And I remember being so obsessed with the cover art because each one was like a Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was catered to us. It was marketed to us. It was
loved.
It was made for us. We were the target audience. And we were also, this is so long before book talk or anything like that. Like we just were desperate to have some.
Well, and it was like high school. There was romance because there's 4 main characters. So there's all this romance happening, but it's also like mystery. It's murder mystery, which is like what we're talking about today. So it's so fun.
Do you know the other thing?
Because then you're just like on your toes the whole time. You can't trust anyone. It's so good.
In college, you got me into podcasts. And of course, the podcast we listened to was also true crime. It was about murders. Yeah. So this, I guess our love of crime, our love of murder mysteries goes all the way back. It goes all the way to the top and it goes all the way back. So then, do you remember in college what series we read simultaneously. I was getting an English lit degree, so I was reading a bunch of boring shit. And you were getting an elementary ed degree at the time, so you were reading like kids' books. But there was one series, and it was a romance series.
It was a romance series?
Yeah.
Like straight romance?
Oh, yeah.
That we read in college?
Mm-hmm.
Is it embarrassing?
I would say now I wouldn't recommend it.
It's just one?
No, it's 3.
Oh, was it like the slammed books, Colleen Hoover?
Thank God, no. We read those. I think I read those in high school. But
I read them in high school too, but then I didn't remember if we did a reread.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It is maybe the most popular and maybe the worst representation of BDSM.
Oh, 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of
My mom told me to read that.
And
so we could go see the movie together, and we did.
And it was on your Kindle.
Yes, because my mom read it and then recommended it to me.
Heidi's a real homie.
Yes, she gets it.
My mother would have never, but I did read the first one by myself. Then I was so hyped on it. And you're like, girl, I've got the other ones on my Kindle. So I read the second one. I never read the third one because they were so bad.
The third one, I think I read like 3 chapters and then I was just like, I can't get through this. Like, they're bad.
They're bad. The second one, though, it was the first one or the second one. I remember, no, it must have been the first.
They're bad, but they're everybody's first dark romance, which we're also talking about today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was so obsessed with that first one. I remember reading it while I was driving on my way home.
She was sitting crisscross applesauce reading a book. She can't even slam on the brakes, you guys. It's unsafe.
I was cruise controlled in Montana, probably going 80 miles an hour. This is so dangerous. We probably can't say this on a podcast, but and
this is our reality, though. You know, sorry.
It's 100%. We're keeping it 100%.
Montana didn't even have speed limits until after we were born. So.
And I did have, I'm sure, my seatbelt on, but I am also sure that I was blazed and reading a novel.
I'm not sure you had your seatbelt on. I tell her every time she's in my car, I have to tell her to put her seatbelt on.
And I live in the country, so I was driving like 3 hours into nothing. So there's nobody
around, and there's no cell service either.
No cell service. So if I had gotten hurt, I would have been in trouble. But I didn't.
But she didn't. Thank God.
Example of how
she survived.
Quite obsessed I can get with the series if I really feel like it.
Yeah, me too. I just read Onyx Storm in like less than 24 hours.
Good God, girl. Which brings us to your favorite author. Who's your so Phoebe has read over in the year 2023.
I read 200 books.
200 books in a calendar year.
It was not healthy.
It was not.
I didn't do anything else.
It was crazy. In fact,
besides my full-time job, but like.
They were almost all romance novels, and it was, I would say, on the verge of addiction.
It was not healthy, you guys, but it was fun.
And honestly,
I had a good time.
It could have been drugs. It could have been a lot less healthy.
Yeah, most of the books I read were on Kindle Unlimited, so I was
free.
Saving money.
Yeah,
honestly.
You were saving money. You weren't drinking. You were like it was very self-care oriented.
I was saving my money to go to Greece for your bachelorette party.
Oh, that is so fun.
So, that's how I could afford that trip, was having no social life, because I wouldn't put my Kindle down.
Oh God, that Kindle was like your boyfriend.
It still is. It's right there. I can see it right now. It's my emotional support Kindle.
Doesn't go anywhere without
That's its official name.
So we've always kind of bonded around this. And then, of course, we also were really obsessed and still are with My Favorite Murder. So reading podcasts has always gone hand in hand. So Princess isn't writing the blogs, but I am. So there's a blog for this episode on today's story already up. And then we'll always have Princess back for the podcast episode on the 25th of each month. And that's discussing the romance novel. So we have our pick for this year. Our year of Yowie is all reverse harem novels, and it's all under one author, and that's Elle Thorpe. And when did you find Elle Thorpe?
July of my readathon 2023. I saw like a random girl on Instagram talking about this one that we're starting with. This is the first one I read in her series, and the little bite got me. I was like, I have to read that book. I need it. And then I got in deep, and then I read every single one of her books, and then I read some of them again.
Who is your very favorite author of all time?
I don't know. It's really hard. It depends on the category. Romance author? I mean, SJM, love her. That's my girl. We had an Akatar themed birthday party for our 28th birthdays this year. So obviously her, I mean, I've read and reread her books so much.
How does Elle Thorpe stand up to Sarah J. Maas, for those of you who aren't super deep in the romanticy or even shallowly in the romanticy, because I'd say she is really popular.
Yeah, she's super popular.
How does Elle Thorpe compare to that? And how does this genre, reverse harem, why choose, how does it
Can you
stand up to
imagine
romantasy?
if romantasy was
With
white
white
shoes? Oh, it would be amazing.
And
I would read that.
to be quite frank, in the first Throne of Glass book, I
Dude.
did wonder if she was going to have 2 boyfriends, and you're like, do not get your hopes up, honey. So,
Don't get your hopes up, but we all know that, you know, Kale was gay for Dorian.
oh, absolutely. God, I ship them so hard.
I know.
To what I have nothing. Never been
To whatever end. It's
to
nothing.
whatever. Don't make me cry. So how does Elle Thorpe stand up to as Sham? I know you've read like all of her books.
Yeah, I read all of Elle Thorpe's books after I read this one that we're talking about today. It's my first one. And then I went down a rabbit hole. She's great. She writes like, I would say Sarah J. Maas is more like uplifting because they're so different. I mean, it's like romantasy is like battles and just like training and war and stuff like that. And this is obviously not, but these are fun because they're like a mystery. But I would say both of them write like strong female characters. And if they don't start as a strong female character by the end of the series, like they have so much confidence. I mean, they also have 3 boyfriends, so like how can you not?
I know.
You feeling pretty good about yourself?
I love romantasy, but I have to say that sometimes the plot elements of romantasy, the world building, can get to be a bit much.
Yeah. And like it's fun, like love romantasy, like but I don't always need it to be a fated mate. Like it's nice to read books where people choose each other because
they want to.
They want to,
Absolutely.
not because, you know, somebody decided that they were going to be together.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And I like that. And I love that in a Why Choose, like this is just a fun part of any Why Choose, is that when they introduce all the characters and they have chemistry, they actually get to be with all of them, which I love.
So nice. And so
I love. And it's such a found family thing, which
yeah.
I also love. I love a found family. It's found family in a different way than like you're going to usually find in like a romantasy found family. It's a lot closer.
And you get so many more members of that family right away. So yeah, like immediately very dynamic and very fun. I don't know, as far as fantasy goes, I was just not a huge fantasy reader growing up. Like even Hunger Games is dystopian. So like I would always lean towards something that's more realistic than something like I was never a big fan of like your Lord of the Rings, your sci-fis, your full-on fantasies like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. I didn't get into those fandoms until I was an adult. So they're a little bit less approachable for me. Whereas dark romance, my whole life is dark as fuck. So I was like, that's hella realistic.
Regular romance.
All the men I surround myself with look and act just like this. Like they're all toxic and most of them are garbage, and the ones that aren't, I am obsessed with forever. So I can really get on board with this style. So reverse harem and Why Choose is also on our agenda for our year of Yaoi because there's 3 men in every book that we're going to talk about. There's 3 love interests who are dudes, and those dudes kiss each other.
Yeah.
2 important.
2 of them in the pairing.
I am obsessed with that.
Yeah, that's great.
I have only been reading gay stories, as in BL manhwa, BL manga, BL anime, all yaoi. Like that's my hyperfixation at the moment, and it has a lot to do with being disappointed with certain straight couples. I feel like they're really unoriginal. I feel like they are not that sexy. Like, for example, Sarah J. Maas, one of my favorite couples is Cassian and Nesta, and the freakiest thing that happens between them is he asks her to hold a headboard. I'm like, put it in her ass, and they're not going to do that unless they're gay. And so I do love I like the sexual exploration of gay stuff, and I also just like the chemistry when you have a situation where it's like an all-male school, or because in our history and the general history of life, men have made institutions for themselves, the militaries, universities, boys' schools, all of these things where men are together and we're supposed to just assume that they never hooked up. I don't buy it, and I love the idea, this forced proximity that those relationships would develop. And in the story we're talking about today, same thing, it's a men's prison with men's prison guards. And so we're again able to see that these situations, which women are usually kept from, we get to like peek into a little.
Yeah, it's fun.
I have a lot of fun with that, and I also have a lot of fun with same-sex coupling, especially male same-sex coupling, because I feel like the verbiage used is a little bit more palatable, and the straight stuff, diving back into straight stories has been a little painful just because of the way they describe women. So our story today is Locked Up Liars. It's by Elle Thorpe. It's the first book in the series, St. View Prisons. There is a series that comes before this called St. View High, and that one we chose not to read just because the characters are in high school. So it's a little bit more our vibe, but Phoebe has read those ones before, and if
They are
you
good.
want to, you can go read them. But for today's book club, we're discussing Volume 1 of St. View Prison, Locked Up Liars. And this story specifically has been really good. Like, the writing is so excellent. There was only one moment that really cringed me out, and that was when she says, he spread open my folds.
Yeah, I hate the word.
Folds. I just like, please stop it.
It's not a deal breaker, but I don't like it.
There's also a sentence in the first chapter where I'm like, oh, she was really warming up, because I would have edited that. Like, towards the end of the book, that would not have gotten written in there. She says this line where she goes, my, like, below the belt was purring like a hungry, growling like a hungry kitten. No, a needy pussy. And it was just like, what the fuck? And in gay stories, it's never like that. It's always just like, my rock hard cock. And it's like, doesn't gross me out at all, which is funny from a girl who loves women. I just don't like women talked about in certain terms. And folds, my center, my apex.
No.
Her sex, like my wet sex. It's like, oh my God, please. The terms that are used with men are just, for me, a lot more palatable. So I'm excited that it's not a straight story. It's a queer story. It's it's basically poly.
Yeah, it is poly.
It's poly, and it's got like straight romance, and it also has gay romance in it. So I'm really excited that this is the author that we went with and the stories that we went with, because I feel like it's an easy transition for readers who want to read romance novel, who are following the book club, who are reading a ton of BL and yaoi, who are used to gay stuff, to be like, that's more my vibe. It's like, well, the vibe is still there. There's a strong female character who I really like and who is really realistic and fun to cheer for. And she is, she keeps you in the story, but there are still a lot of those male characters who I have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And the more you get into the series, the more you get, obviously, because like this first book is less.
Yes.
Because you're just meeting everybody. And she's obviously the protagonist. But in the next like two, then you'll get more of everybody else's perspective as well.
Yeah, definitely excited to see, because right now we're seeing her relationship building with each of these individuals, and I'm excited to see how the four all
the intertwine. Yeah.
Exactly. So give us a brief summary of Locked Up Liars. Will you give us a little brief overview of the tropes?
Yes.
A little brief spoiler-free summary before we get into the spoilers.
Yes. Okay. So obviously, like we just discussed, it's a reverse harem, which means there's one female protagonist and then there's three male protagonists, which is great. There's swords crossing, so we love that. If it's not for you, why not?
What are you doing?
Try harder. Like, you should just try, because it's the best. It's considered a dark romance. I would say this one, of all of the books in this series, I actually think this one is like less dark than the other ones romance wise, but it is technically in that little category. It's a murder mystery, so it's super fun the way that she's written this St. View world. It's like a whole world. We're in the second little book, so there's 3 books per series, and all of them are a murder mystery, so it's really fun. You're always going to get that little element. She's the queen of cliffhangers, so if you're not a cliffhanger person, lucky for you, all 3 of these books are already out. So let's dive right into the next one. And then the characters that we're going to be following, May is our female main character. She's our FMC. She is a school teacher, and she's like a little chunky. She's super cute. We love her. Her sister, Jayla, she's also a main character for sure in the series. And then Liam, Heath, and Ro are going to be our male main characters. You're going to get to know all of them. They're all great. I'm very excited. And then you'll get to find out which of those male characters get with each other, which is so fun.
And all the books in these like these four that we're reading for book club are all set in the same universe. And basically it's split into St. View, which is the bad side of the tracks, and Providence.
And Providence, which is like the good, like the rich neighbor.
If you have not read this series, you can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited. You can listen to it for free on Spotify. If you have a subscription, you can listen to it on Audible. I listened to the audiobook. Did you read these all?
I read them the first time and I listened to them on audio the second time.
So you guys, if you want to remain spoiler free and you haven't read yet, go read now, come back. This is a spoiler segment. We're going to break it down. We're going to go through all the plot points. I have not talked to Princess yet about anything that's gone on in this series because I wanted to save it for the camera. So we're going to break it down. Go read if you haven't yet. Beginning with the spoilers, we meet Jayla and May. Jayla and May are sisters, and Jayla's boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, is Heath. We met them all in a bar. Heath is sitting in...
We also meet Tori, which is May's best friend.
Yeah. So
she's important. It doesn't feel like she's important. She's important. She's important.
At the end of this book, she definitely is doing...
She gets more and more important as the series goes.
We have Tori, Jayla, and May all sitting around a table. They're drinking. Heath is at the bar. That's Jayla's ex-boyfriend. May is Jayla's little sister. She has always had a crush on Heath, and Jayla broke up with him like 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Tori says it's no big deal. She won't care. Just, we're going to get out of here. You go hit on Heath, basically. So the girls go home. Jayla goes back to work for the night.
Jayla goes to work. Tori goes home. Mm-hmm. And May says hi to Heath. And then she's like, I'm just going to go. And he doesn't want to let her walk home alone. And so then they go back to her apartment and get wasted, as you do.
As you do. So they're drinking tequila. He uses a knife to cut the limes. They hear somebody coming in. They race over to May's room.
Because they don't want... Jayla doesn't know that May's always had this crush on Heath. She doesn't want it to be a thing. She knows that Jayla thinks Heath is still in love with her. So she's like, this can't be a thing. We have to go. And so they run into her room. They hide out. They hear Jayla's door close. They keep drinking tequila. Lights out. Next day.
Yep. And you don't get the vibe that Jayla would actually be mad about any of this. Initially, I was like, oh, hoes before bros. But it feels like that would all be kosher. The next day.
And Heath and May, just so we're clear, talk about how they want to hook up, but they don't.
Yeah, so they get super drunk.
They're like, we're too drunk. We're not going to do that.
They get super drunk on tequila. They definitely get close. But when he says he wants to kiss her, she's like, I don't think we should. I think I need to talk to my sister about this. They fall asleep in the same bed. She falls asleep. The last thing she remembers is her head on Heath's chest. In the morning, Heath wakes up.
And we wake up in Heath's perspective.
And Heath's perspective in Jayla's room. And he's sleeping with Jayla, the older sister. And when he goes to get out of bed to figure out what the fuck happened, he pulls back the covers and Jayla's lifeless body is in the bed next to him. And when we say that she went to work the night before to go back to work, she was going back to the police station.
Because she's a police officer.
She's a cop.
In Providence. And the girls live in Providence. But he's from St. View. Wrong side of the tracks.
Wrong side of the tracks. So he's from the wrong side of the tracks. He's waking up next to a dead cop. He calls for May, the little sister. May comes in.
Yeah, he immediately starts doing CPR. He doesn't know what happened. And May comes in, freaking out, obviously. Her sister's dead. Her dead body's like flailing around while he's trying to do CPR. And he's covered in her blood. Because her throat was slit.
Been sleeping there all night, and it doesn't look like he's just covered from CPR. It looks like he did it.
Yeah.
And when May sees all of this, she kind of starts yelling, what did you do? What did you do? He sees his knife on the ground. The knife he used to cut up the limes the night before, so he knows his prints are all over it. He has no idea. He's questioning himself.
Yeah.
What have I done? And in his internal monologue, you hear him go, not again.
Yeah.
So we know that something's happened, and we get the feeling that whatever happened before, clearly he wasn't put in jail for, so maybe it was self-defense, something like that. But this is not the first time this boy from the wrong side of the tracks might be accused of a violent crime.
Yeah.
So he runs away. The cops catch up with him, and they beat out of him a confession. And he basically says, I did it. And he's in his head thinking of this other altercation with some mystery person who I've yet to find out in volume 1 what that incident was about. But he does get his confession coerced out of him, and then he is hauled off to jail.
Yep. arrested.
So we see May next at the funeral. She is going to her sister's funeral.
Yep.
And she's in her head thinking she feels so bad that she's the reason Heath is in jail. And she cannot believe that he did it.
Yeah, she doesn't believe he did it at all. She's like confident he could never have done it. She knows him really well. They were really close when him and Jayla were together, because she was always working because she was like just starting in the police force and wanted to be a detective. So she was like always working. So they hung out a lot. She's like, no, I know her.
Heath couldn't have done it. But Jayla's partner, Boston, is positive that this man, Heath, killed his partner. So we're at the funeral. She's talking to her friend and she's like, look at all these people from high school who showed up. And she looks back and catches the eye of a very prominent lawyer who she was rivals with in high school. They went to a boys' school and a girls' school, but they did compete for their GPAs, although they were in different schools.
Yeah.
And his name is Liam.
Yeah.
And
smoking hot.
So
super young, successful lawyer. And she always had a crush on him, but he was also her rival in high school.
So she goes after the funeral to get to the wake, and she's locked out of her car. Who is there to help her but Liam, who offers her a ride. And at that point, they get to the funeral. Liam does have a small interaction with a friend from his softball team, whose name is Ro.
Yep.
Fast forward to the next kind of opening scene, and we have May walking into the prison to try to talk to Heath.
Yeah, she's tried to call him, and he won't take her calls.
Yep.
And she's freaking out because she really wants to talk to him.
And she goes through the prison and sees the correctional officer who's supposed to be checking her in, and he is smoking hot. And where has she seen him before?
Talking to Liam
At her sister's funeral. So super hot prison guard, super mean to her, calls her prison groupie right away, makes her feel awful for going to see Heath. Won't let her, basically like wouldn't let her in if he could.
And then Heath refuses to see her again.
Yeah.
And so then she's like, I have to talk to him. He won't answer my calls. He won't talk to me. What am I going to do? And then she sees a posting for a teacher at the prison to come teach the prisoners. And she's like, bet, I'm a teacher. I'm going to get in there to talk to him. So then she starts teaching at the prison. And
maybe the best part of this dynamic is that she's an elementary school teacher. So she's this elementary school teacher who is not only like catching the eye of all of these men,
but she's like super innocent.
And she's like in like a floral dress, and she's trying to walk in. She mentions to herself, she's like, I don't know why he's looking at me like a prison groupie. I'm only showing an appropriate amount of cleavage. And then she's like, maybe for a prison you shouldn't show any cleavage. So she's adorable. We love her. And she is really quick to like each of these men that she finds attractive. She's pretty quick within herself to just admit that she likes them and be like, oh, they're hot, instead of being like, I don't know. I like Heath already.
I want to be more like her.
I know. I love her because, all of us regular girls would be like, we have Heath in prison. We got to be loyal to our man. And instead, she's like, he is smoking hot. Am I looking at him too long? And she does this with Liam, the lawyer, Ro, the prison guard, and her prison baby who's locked up Heath.
And there is just chemistry everywhere.
Every which way. So we get Ro and Heath's little relationship a little bit as well.
Yeah, they hate each other. There's a lot of tension.
But she sees a moment in between them, and she mentions to herself, she's like, man, that's like two alphas about to rip each other apart. Are they going to get in a fight? Are they going to kiss? Yeah. And you're like, oh, excuse me. Kiss. This is exactly what we're reading this series for. Yeah. I have a strong feeling about these two. And that strong feeling comes from a lot of foreshadowing. So
yes.
After she gets the job teaching at the prison, she speaks finally to Heath. He lets her speak to her, and he says, if you really want to help me, I am going to get the death penalty unless I get a good lawyer. So she leaves to go find who? Liam. So we get our hottie lawyer back in the picture, and he says, honey, you can't afford me, but I'll take a date. So she agrees to go on a date. And we love Liam immediately. He decides to take her to a strip club on their first date.
In St. View.
In St. View.
This like rich boy lawyer. Yeah, it's great.
So just right off the bat, he's not basic. He's very original as far as characters go. And I really vibed with him just because he's like, yeah, very competitive with her. He thinks really highly of her. He doesn't underestimate her smarts or her capability because he knew her in high school. So he already knows what a smart girl she is, what a hot girl she is. He never dated her in high school because she kind of hated him for being this douchey jock, smarty McGee. So we've got like a small element of rivalry between them. And then we also have this kind of enemies vibe between her and Ro, the prison guard. So there's some fun dynamics, whereas her and Heath are like pretty straightforward. We like each other. She's got this competitive edge with Liam and this back and forth with him. And then with Ro, she is constantly verbally sparring with him. And they really are testing each other in a different way. So really fun dynamics going on. When Liam does take her to the wrong side of the tracks, that strip club, he takes her to a girl named Eve's business. She's the strip club owner. St. View Strip. And that is another story by this author. So that's kind of fun. But we get this vibe that he's more intertwined maybe with town
and the community than and that we would ever assume based on like what he's putting out there.
And as the two get to know each other, as they work on this case together, she does start to discover a little bit more of his backstory, and it's not that simple, cut and dry. She's from Providence. She was raised on the right side of the tracks. She has a weird history with her parents, but Liam, who she's always assumed had similar upbringing, she learns that his mother was from St. View and that his father wouldn't accept the paternity of him, but his grandfather, his dad's dad, basically adopted him to get him away from his mom and brother.
Saw like the potential in him.
And so he pulls him away from his mom and his brother, raises him on the right side of the tracks, gets him to go to law school. He thrives. Meanwhile, his brother and his mother are on the wrong side of town.
Stay in St.
View. And he brings May with him. They're working on the case. He brings her with him to a homeless shelter where he runs into his mother.
He volunteers there regularly.
So we get that he's a very well-rounded character, and we also get an idea that he does know more about this side of town than he's letting on, and also that there's some gang affiliation with his own brother that might help him discover who truly is responsible for Jayla's murder if it's not Heath.
His brother is the leader of the Sinners,
the St. View
Sinners, which is a motorcycle gang in St. View.
And we got 1.5 seconds of his brother. I find Liam very attractive, but his brother I already know I'm going to be obsessed with.
Hayden Chaos Whitling.
We
love him.
I love a bad boy.
You're gonna just wait till you read his books. We do get his books later. They're the most recent ones, and they're so good.
Oh my gosh.
Love.
So is that going to be like our October read or something then, because it's the
most recent. So the first one will be October, November, December.
Amazing.
Those books.
So we meet his mom, we meet his brother. His brother tips them off to the fact that the person they might be suspecting, this guy in the jail who has kind of admitted that he put a hit on Jayla.
He's got this huge personality. He's the leader of the gang in the jail.
He basically, the brother says, nope, that guy is a red herring. You don't need to focus on him too much. You guys should be on the lookout for a guy named Scythe. He is a notorious hitman, and he's known for slitting the throats of his victim, which is exactly how Jayla died. So with this information, they go on to continue investigating, and in between that, they find themselves getting more and more familiar with each other. And these are the only spicy scenes we get in the book. In book one, the only spicy scenes we get are between Liam and May. And I love them. How did you feel about this one?
I love them. Liam's so great.
He's so good.
He's so good. I love him.
Let's talk about Liam for a second.
I love him.
He's a hot, rich daddy who is very domineering. So he immediately takes the charge in every situation with May, tells her what to do, tells her to bend over, give him a view. Really, he's boyfriend goals. I am obsessed with him. So we get in the first scene, he like we hit all the bases. So he gets her where she's going in the first scene just with his hands. And then in the second scene, he gets a taste of her. In the third spicy scene, she gets a taste of him, and they finally go all the way to home base. So we got a very well-paced, very smutty, intimate kind of plot line with them. I hate a slow burn, really bothers
Me too.
but I also hate when they just jump into the sack together.
I know.
Like if there's not the buildup, then
you need some tension.
Yes. And you want
Which is the nice thing about this is you get both, because you still get that slow burn tension with Ro and Heath, because Heath's in jail.
He's in jail, so you just
so there's that. And you're like, oh, when are they ever going to get together? Because he's in literal prison. And then there's all this tension with Ro, back and forth. You're like, oh, when they do it, they're going to do it. Right. Yeah. And then, but it's nice because you also get the satisfaction of like, when you want it, you like still get it. And it's so good. Still, that's why I like these books a lot. And I do like, I think they're really, for me, like the perfect balance of like good smut and plot.
Yeah, and I love when people get their like firsts with each other and each one is kind of savored.
Yeah.
I think that's really fun. And I felt like these two knew each other in high school, so it's almost like a second chance romance.
Yeah.
And they get to have these like almost like childish feelings of like, oh my God, we held hands for the first time, we made out for the first time, we did this, and that, and then we finally had sex for the first time. Yeah. So I felt like all of that was really like romantic, realistic, well-paced, and believable.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, we are still waiting on any action with our boy behind bars. And then this guy that she likes, the correctional officer, Ro, we get nothing except for this verbal sparring until she's invited to a party at another correctional officer's house. Yeah. Because she's working at the jail, she's starting to be friends with all of them. And Ro is like, sure, come if you want to. Yeah. They meet each other there, and there's a lot more romantic vibes sparking between them. And it doesn't hurt that they're at the house of a polycule made up of 3 guys and 1 girl.
Yeah, which it happens to be the reverse harem from the St. View High series.
That we're not covering for book club, but does come before this. Yeah. So one of the prison guards, he has a wife and 2 other partners who are both men. And when she goes to that party and she sees all of that, she's first introduced to this idea that that's a possibility.
Oh, this is a thing?
Oh, wow.
Right. That's interesting.
Also, for a girl like me with a breeding kink, she holds a baby and part of it. And then Ro, like, kind of helps her get to the baby. So the baby stops crying. And I'm like, please let her get knocked up. And you just like blink twice if they have. Damn it. Like, man, because I so badly love when it's just like get her pregnant. Like all 3 of them should just try really hard to get they should all try their hardest to get her pregnant. So anyways, she has that interaction with Ro and she goes home, and then next time she's with Liam, she kind of falls asleep and has a dream, and he's like, what are you dreaming about? And she's like, well, you were in the dream. He was like, does that mean other people were in the dream? And she's like, actually, yeah. It's Heath, the guy that we're both working to free, and your friend from softball team who is Heath's prison guard. It was all 3 of you. And he's like, sounds hot. Good to me.
Yeah, that sounds hot.
That sounds great to me, actually. So we immediately have this very open man. I mean,
that's my favorite part about him. He's like, get it, girl. I support you.
He's like, elementary school teacher, I had no idea you had it in you. And she's like, well, I want to have them all in me.
Yeah. And he's like, I want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that.
He's like, I would actually love to see how that would work. And so we get this idea that they're all open to it. So we move on to her going to the prison. She kind of roped her best friend Tori into coming to the prison as well to help with the last rites of a sick patient. Her friend is Catholic, like myself, and she goes with a priest to help give the Eucharist and the last rites to this prisoner. And while that's happening, which again, if you listen this far and you don't want spoilers, what's wrong with you? As that's happening, she's also there teaching, and a prison riot breaks out.
Yeah.
During this prison riot, Ro is helping hide her, but Heath is getting brutalized by a full-on gang.
Yep.
So we're completely out of sorts.
May's hidden away. Ro goes, she's like, you have to go help my friend Tori. So Ro goes to get to the infirmary to help her friend. And then there's a fire and May starts smelling smoke. And she's like, I have to get out of here. And she leaves the little closet that they hid her away in. And there's the guy that could be the guy that killed her sister, DeWitt.
Who's trying to take credit for killing her sister.
Yeah.
He's in the same room with her, and now she realizes I am out of my locked closet. I'm with this gangster, and I have no resources, no weapons, nothing. So he starts to sexually assault her and choke her to death. And while this is happening, as her vision is going out, she feels a splatter of blood go across her face. And she regains her sight to see that DeWitt, whatever. I hate the name. She sees DeWitt dead on the ground with his throat slit, just like her sister's.
Yeah.
And who's there but her student, who's been
her favorite student.
Her favorite
super quiet, super mundane. Her favorite student, Vincent Baby.
Vincent.
Oh.
So she is like, oh my
first
God.
viewing of Vincent. Well, this book is our first interaction with him.
Introduction.
We love him.
So as she is trying to get her bearings and figure out if she's going to be his next victim, she kind of plays along and tries to help him clean some blood off of him. And in the process,
he's washing his hands.
He washes his hands and reveals a birthmark of a scythe. Which is how the notorious hitman Scythe got his nickname, is because he would slit the throat of his victims, and he had a scythe birthmark. So
that's how the book ends. So she's like, oh my God, my sister's killer just saved me. So she's just looking into the eyes of the guy she thinks is the biggest suspect they have of killing her sister. And there's this prison riot, and Roe is gone, and Heath is gone, and that's
the end. So book 1 ends on this massive cliffhanger.
Huge cliffhanger.
I won't be reading book 2 until February. I want to stay very relevant with the other readers. So I am dying about this cliffhanger. So we end on this huge cliffhanger, and we'll all have to just read volume 2 for February. And with that, let's take a tiny bit of a water break. We'll come back with all of my questions about your delusional boyfriends.
Okay.
And we're back. So with our summary done of Locked Up Liars, the first book in this series, how does this series match up with the rest of the ones we're doing for book club, the other 4 series that are in this universe and chronologically follow all these kind of same characters?
So I love this one. Prison is one of my favorites. I don't know if it's just because it's the first one that I read. I also think it's like the dynamic of like the prisoner, the prison guard, the lawyer. It's so good.
That's so juicy.
Yeah, so juicy. So I love this one. This one's one of my favorites. The next series in the world is called St. View Psychos. That is like her best-selling series. It's also very good. You're gonna love it.
I'm so excited.
You're gonna love it. It's very, very good. I also love it. Like, I just love them all. But
so that'll be April. Will be when we'll get into that series in April. Other than all of those books that Elle Thorpe wrote, what books would you say are her best, or the ones you like the most, or the ones you would recommend to people if they like these stories?
Like outside of the St. View reverse harem world, or in it also?
Or in the world, but not directly a part of these, the ones that we'll be reading.
I love the St. View strip. It's in the same world. It all takes place at Eve's strip club, which this is the book we get introduced to Eve and her strip club. And so it's all like characters in that series. So those ones are just male, female. So if reverse harem's not your thing, or you don't like that style, that one's just 2 partners, but it's very, very good. Those ones are very spicy, and like some of them are like, the second 2 are definitely more dark romance for sure.
If you read those while you're reading this, does it spoil any of this?
No. Well, maybe not really. It's kind of like adjacent.
Okay.
So like the first St. View strip book is about Eve, and when May and Liam are at the strip club, it gets like shot up while they're there, and somebody calls the police, and so then Eve comes down and she has to deal with the police, and Boston shows up, and so that book is about Eve and Boston.
Okay, very good.
So that's the first book in the series, starts there, and then the second book in the series is in Psychos, you like see this like priest for a second, and then in Eve's book you meet other strippers, because it's all about strippers at the strip club.
Okay.
And so then like that priest ends up getting with this other stripper at the strip club. He's like a killer. He's a killer priest. Oh, it's so good.
Oh my God.
It's so good.
Okay,
It's so good.
We're not reading the St. Vitus Strips books for book club, but I'm definitely going to sprinkle those in when I can. That sounds amazing. And then let's see here. So the most important question I have to ask you is which character from this story, and you can use all of your knowledge from the 3 books that this reverse harem takes place in, of the 3 boyfriends, and May could be your answer if you want to. So of May, Ro, Liam, and Heath, who is your delusional boyfriend? Liam's mine.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God. He is, and like,
so good. He's blonde and we still love him.
Oh my God.
That's how good he is.
I was picturing him like a light brown. So I'll just force that.
I mean, I'm sure it's a dirty blonde.
It's a dirty.
No man is bleach blonde.
No man's bleach.
But he is, if you read the description of him, he is blonde. And I love him in spite of that.
And the description of him, he's like always kind of like in a suit with his like biceps pushing out of them.
A man in a suit.
She is, she's giving us what we want to hear from him. So Liam is definitely my delusional boyfriend as well. Who's your all-time #1 delusional boyfriend?
Who do you think my all-time delusional boyfriend is?
Okay, let's guess each other's. Okay.
I'm writing yours and you're writing mine, right?
No, you're writing your own. I'm guessing yours.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I feel mine's easy. And if you don't get it, you fail. But I have a really good.
Okay. #1 all time. This is Phoebe's #1 all time. Wait, I feel like we also need to write our own at the bottom.
I wrote my own on mine.
You wrote your own on yours, so I have to write mine.
You just told me to do.
Oops. Okay, I didn't do it right. Hold on, I didn't do it right. And
okay, I'm sitting patiently.
Also, well, actually,
you write yours, and then I'm gonna guess, and then you're gonna guess mine, and we'll reveal.
Okay, that works. Okay, hold on.
That was the whole thing.
This is crazy because mine is kind of the one I guessed for you, but also then yesterday I was thinking about it and I changed my mind.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I did the same thing for you.
Okay.
Mine hasn't changed. Okay. Do you want me to guess first or do you want to guess first?
Okay, I'm going to guess first. I think Phoebe's all-time #1 delusional boyfriend is Rowan from Throne of Glass.
Oh.
Cassian?
I love Cassian. He's my #1. Rowan is real close. #2, though.
Okay, guess mine.
I guessed Dorian.
You guessed Dorian?
Uh-huh.
I literally had written Rowan because I thought I was writing hers, and then I rewrote Dorian.
I knew it! Yes! I knew it!
I love that you can't see this at all. Anyway, Dorian, here's the deal. Dorian's a shadow daddy who likes a very badass, difficult woman, and that falls right in line.
Here's where my brain went yesterday, because we were talking about this. She's like, I'm going to ask you who your favorite boyfriend of all time is. So think about that. And you have to guess mine. And I was like, oh, she goes, they might be the same. And I was like, I guess. And I was like, I don't think they're the same.
Because I thought they were both Rowan.
No, close. They're both close second. Okay. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, the thing is that Dorian's like a little gay. And also he literally has a whole scene where he shapeshifts into a woman. And I feel like you would really be into
so into that. He could, and all of his shadow hands could.
And then like when he says, I'll bleed whatever color you tell me to bleed, like that's
he's a simp, but he's like a dommy simp.
Yeah.
Well,
it's hot. No, he's hot.
Dorian is so fucking hot. And I did ship Dorian and Kale for I don't know,
for 4. Yeah, but then he gets with Manon and it's like, yeah.
You can't compete with that. I mean, not even.
Come on.
Come on, Manon.
Come on, Manon. Yeah, Minorian for life. So good.
For life.
Ship so hard.
Those nails scratching up.
Love that. I knew it.
You knew it. You guessed it. I was like, she's not gonna. I thought you were going to guess Cassian.
I thought you were going to guess Cassian for me immediately.
I knew yours from that one was Cassian. I thought Rowan was yours all time overall. And the reason.
It's really close.
Mine was almost Rowan is gonna punch Selena right in the face. I just like rough, guys. I like it rough, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. Okay, so
can't you just picture Courtney with like those phantom hands? Come on, you would love it. You would love it.
It's the only thing my man in real life doesn't have. So speaking of which, okay, so how does Liam stand up to your #1? How does Liam stand up to Cassian?
Well, I would say they're both very supportive of their strong female characters.
Who you like better?
Oh, who I like better? Well,
if you had to, you're in a room with both of them.
I'm going to do them both. And Liam's
Why choose? Literally, why choose?
Why would you make me choose?
Yeah,
That's the opposite of the thing that we're doing.
The concept of the show is I'm making these boys battle royale.
Oh, I'm saying no.
Liam. I know it's Cassian, so you just have to say it's Cassian.
That's probably Cassian.
It's Cassian. He has the wings. He's got the big old Illyrian dick.
I know. It's just here's the one thing that it's like that scene with Nesta when they're making out and he comes in his pants. It's a little embarrassing.
That's my thing with Cassian.
Which might get ick if it was me.
My thing with Cassian is,
I mean, it's worth it to get past that. Me personally, it's
No.
So
not interested.
but
I do love in BL.
But I love him.
In BL, there's a ton of tropes, and I was just rereading one of my favorites. And the characters, like, canonically doesn't come fast, but, like, one time, like, they get a little excited, and it's, like, an immediate orgasm. I actually don't hate it, so I let myself not hate it, but that was, like, the first time, and I was just like...
No, it was, like, a little bit, like, if that had happened to me...
I would have been like, I'll never see you again.
I would, yeah, it would have been a little bad. So...
Actually not.
But I do love him so much. Like...
Liam, at this point, Liam does not stack up to Dorian, but that's just because Dorian, like, his whole...
Also, they're not...
plot
like,
is intense.
Well, and also, like, fantasy men are hard to stack up against because they have powers... and shape-shifting and wings and stuff.
Do you think there's anyone in any of these reverse harems that's going to challenge Dorian for me? Who's, like, a good enough option to knock my number one off the throne?
I don't know. I feel you're really going to like Vincent. Vincent and Scythe are in Psychos.
I think I'm going to really like him.
You're really gonna... well, he's both of them. And I think you're really going to like that.
So, yeah, Vincent, Scythe, these... dual personality. I will say at the end of book 1 of Sedu Prison, he has just killed DeWitt, and he asked May very nicely to go with him.
Because he's super polite.
Somewhere else. He's like, we need to get out of here. It's going to light on fire. And she's like, no, I don't want to go to a second location with you. I'm not a fool. And he drops all of his manners, picks her up by the throat, and says, I never gave you no as an answer. And he puts her back down. He's like, let's go, ma'am. And so I will say that I'm a bit nervous that he could challenge Dorian for the top. But lastly, would you date the character, your delusional boyfriend from this story, in real life?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I just have to say, if you look at both of my delusional boyfriends, Dorian and Liam, they're both, like, tall, dark, handsome, rich boys with the status and, like, a wealthy father, and I will just say that it looks a little...
That's your actual husband.
It looks like my actual husband.
So annoying.
Yeah, so would I date them IRL? I'm literally dating him IRL.
Yeah, she's married. Like, Wolfgang is very Cassian.
He is very Cassian, but because he's so tall, dark, and handsome, and bimbo. He's like himbo.
Yes.
But he's like Liam, and he is like Dorian in the way that he comes from influence. He dresses very nicely, and he has status. So, he's a provider. I love a bad boy. I love a gang member, but there's something about a sugar daddy and a provider and a breadwinner that will get me every time. It literally got me in real life.
Man, you're going to love Caleb.
Ooh, cannot wait to... No?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And with that, we conclude our episode on our first romance novel for the book club. I am so excited that we did this together. I'm so excited that we included reverse harem in our year of yaoi.
I love it. Reverse harem. It's so fun.
I know it's not like as specifically as gay as everything else we're covering, but
it's a little gay.
I'm a very diverse reader, and it is gay enough. Yeah. So it's gay enough for us. So thank you so much for being here, Phoebe. This is a dream come true, doing a podcast with you after listening to podcasts with you and reading books with you for literally years and years and years and years. I can't wait for next month, which is volume 2, and that one is called
Solitary Sinners.
Solitary Sinners. So the second book in this series. You can go read my blog on this episode, on this book in this volume in the series. It's up now. The blog will always be released on the 21st for romance novels, and then the pod will always be The pod will always be released on the 25th. So the next time you'll see Princess here will be on the 25th. Until then, make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe on all of our social medias, but especially to our podcast. If you subscribe immediately, you can make it so that it auto downloads the episodes. So that way it's there as soon as they come out and you get a little notification that they're ready to listen to right away. It also helps us grow our numbers so that other people can find the community more easily and the book club can become more full of fans like us. So again, we're Delusional Boyfriend Book Club on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, RedNote, everywhere you can find us. And you can find the podcast. If you're watching this on our website, you can find it on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere that you find podcasts. So please rate, review, subscribe, join all the fun. There is a discussion forum open on our website, delusionalboyfriendbookclub.com. So if you have anything to say about this series or want to tell us who your delusional boyfriend is going to be from this series, please go there and leave a comment. And until next time, remember, sometimes the delusion is the solution. Bye. Okay, Princess just had the best idea in the whole world. At the end of all of the romance novels in December for our Christmas special, we're going to build our reverse harem with our favorite boys from any of the books. We're going to pick 3 that would be in our found family.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, stay tuned. Bye.